American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. A new week begins amid the coronavirus pandemic and the desire from the president and many Americans to end stay-at-home orders and reopen the country. Gernal Scott reports.
Vice President Mike Pence on Fox News Sunday said people who have gone to state capitals to protest want one thing.
They want their governors to find a way to responsibly and safely reopen their state economies.
But governors like New York's Andrew Cuomo warn against opening before numbers come down further.
It's no time to get cocky, and it's no time to get arrogant, right?
Experts say testing will be critical down to the community level, and partnerships with governors and labs will help uncover the virus issues to be solved. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Members of the National Guard are cleaning nursing homes in an effort to protect the vulnerable. Rachel Sutherland reports.
Air Force Second Lieutenant Charles Boré led airmen from the Georgia National Guard in the Southern Pines Nursing Home in Thomasville.
We send in multiple crews, and they go in, they use disinfectant solution, they hand wipe the walls everywhere the patients and staff might touch. And then behind them, we also do a fogging treatment that does broad areas and disinfects the facility.
Some long-term care facilities have been hit hard by COVID-19, but others, like Southern Pines, have had relatively few cases. The CDC has recommended long-term care facilities restrict visitors during the coronavirus crisis.
The assisted suicide lobby is using the pandemic to expand suicides. Charlie Butts reports.
The most medically starved areas are in rural America, Alaska, and parts of Hawaii, and their access to assisted suicide is limited in states that have legalized it. Alex Schattenberg of the Euthanasia Prevention Coalition tells AFN during the pandemic the abortion lobby wants webcam or telehealth used to help people kill themselves, but it's ripe for abuse.
And even the very concept of ensuring that this person actually has the condition is gone. So, for instance, when we talk about issues around medical misdiagnosis, so if you are being approved by telehealth, there's no opportunity for the physician even to examine you to ensure that the condition that you are told that you have actually is the condition that you have.
He adds that last year alone there were 12 million people affected by medical diagnostic errors in the United States alone, and there is the possibility of a person faking terminal illness in order to obtain fatal drugs. Schattenberg says there is an ulterior motive to promoting webcam suicide.
They're trying to expand availability to assisted suicide, but they're also trying to normalize assisted suicide. This has been a big game plan for a long time. So if you define assisted suicide as healthcare, and healthcare can be obtained by telehealth, therefore assisted suicide can then be deemed as being a form of healthcare, which in fact it's not.
Schattenberg says there is a solution, and that is not to legalize assisted suicide to begin with.
The San Marcos, Texas Police Department is mourning the loss of one of its officers.
31-year-old Officer Justin Putnam didn't make it home alive after he and two other officers responded to a domestic violence call.
We lost a fine young man.
San Marcos Interim Police Chief Bob Klett says Putnam was a graduate of Texas State University located in the city and served for 5.5 years. Klett says the 45-year-old suspect died from what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
He was prepared, ready for them to come in, and started shooting immediately.
Rob Dawson, Fox News.
And finally, Janice Dean has a look at your Monday forecast.
Severe storms now moving into the southeast coast and the Outer Banks through midday and this afternoon. Hail and damaging winds plus isolated tornadoes will be possible through late morning. The next system will move into the west today with more mountain snow and lower elevation rain. That will then bring the threat for severe storms on Wednesday to parts of the southern plains and the Mississippi River Valley. Meanwhile, an area of low pressure across the Great Lakes will bring cold air and a wintry mix in towards the interior northeast. And the northern and eastern U.S. will remain colder than average this week. However, record heat is possible over parts of Florida.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
Welcome to the Claudio Reilsono Show on ClaudioReilsono.com, brought to you by Aspire Pediatric Therapy and Roscoe Hearing and Allergy Care Center. Claudio will be speaking to sports legends from the 70s, 80s, and 90s about their careers, business, and what they're doing now. He will also hold roundtable discussions with some old friends about trending topics in the world of sports. And now, here's Claudio.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning into the Claudio Reilsono Show, brought to you by Roscoe Hearing and Allergy Care Center, Aspire Pediatric Therapy. Also like to thank Rick Mitchell for the introductions and my great producer, Adam Zaloof. Now, don't forget, you can go to the website and hear our shows. You can hear some of the great guests that we've had, such as Nick Kaplack, Rick Mitchell, Smokin' Jim Frazier, Luther Dupree, sports legends like Roman Gabriel, Vinny Paz, Jerry Cooney, Rocky Blyer, Robin Cole, Vince Papale, Donnie Lalonde, Pierre LaRouche, Ken Griffey Sr., former Pirates, Jim Rooker, Rennie Stennett, Al Oliver, and Sid Bream, and many, many more. Continue to listen to the show. I appreciate your support. And make sure you take a look at our sponsors. We have a great group of sponsors, great people as well. So make sure you connect with them. Today's guest is a Quaker Valley High School graduate, former teacher, former assistant principal, former athletic director. He was the track head coach, 2 times head football coach at Quaker Valley, winning the state championship in Hershey, PA in 2017, first time in school history. And now he has written a book documenting that special season called Moving Forward. We'd like you to welcome Coach Jerry Veshio. Coach, thanks so much for being on the show.
Claudio, it's an absolute pleasure to be with you guys. I have listened to some of your podcasts, and you always have some great guests, and I'm very honored to be on your show, and proud to be able to talk a little bit about what happened in 2017 and maybe some other things, and then also talk a little bit about this book that I've written.
All right. Well, I appreciate the kind words. Thank you. And first off, we have to thank John Manitza for connecting with me to get you on the show. Now, starting off with that, you had somebody, or you didn't have him do it, but somebody from the community contacted me again to have you on the show. So let's start with that. The community was so in to that football team, to that football season. Talk to us a little bit about that, how you felt about that.
Well, that's I guess ultimately, Claudio, for your viewers out there and listeners, above all, that's what really I was most proud of with regard to how the season unfolded. No one ever expected anything like that to occur. But as the weeks went on and we kept winning, I saw the excitement and exuberance and all of the people in the community. As it unfolded through the weeks, the intensity grew with regard to the celebrations, and the winning kept happening. And each week we had more and more followers. People would stop me on the street to yell out of their car. It just was an incredible, exciting time for the community. And that really was what inspired me the most, is the excitement that I saw in all the people in our community, all the well wishes, and just the feeling of kind of a togetherness that this team was able to bring to the folks in our community. Those of which some of those folks in our community lived there their whole lives, and were players and supporters of Quaker Valley Athletics for their entire lives. And this was just kind of a situation that they just adored what happened, and I wanted to bring it home with this book, and so we could maybe relive it a little bit every now and again.
Since I brought that up, I don't want to get too far ahead, but on Facebook, when you guys were making your run, but especially in Hershey, I noticed a bunch of people who were 40, obviously younger people were into it as well, the high school kids, but there was a lot of people 40 years old plus that were really, really into it, and that was nice to see. And I don't know, maybe I'm being biased because you and I we've lived in this community all our lives, obviously, but I don't know if the other teams had that kind of support. They had support. I'm not saying they didn't, but maybe this was a little more special. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think so, Claudio, and I think the reason for that is because of the situation with the team, really the Quaker Valley football program over the years having very few really big time years. There were ups and downs, but mainly there were downs. And in the 62-year history of the school district, there were never any championships. We had gone to a WPIL semifinal one time. So just the mere fact that this was so new and never before occurring was, I think, the main reason. All of the kind of demons that you talk about as metaphors for folks that are in the sporting world is, how do we get this monkey off our back, or those kind of sayings. The community was just enthralled with how this was all manifesting itself, and week after week getting a little bit more intense, like I said before, as the weeks went on. So you're absolutely right about the 40-year-old people and the 50 and the 60-year-old people. I talked to people after that season, immediately after the season, and I kept telling people I haven't seen so many 50 and 60-year-old guys cry like that ever before in my life, and I'm serious.
Right.
I won't mention names, but one of the kind of backstories that happened. I didn't write about this in the book, but it's something that touched me greatly when we won the state championship in Hershey. We were on our way back in a snowstorm, and we had to stop and get something to eat. So we stopped at one of the restaurants along the turnpike there, on one of the areas where we get off the exit, and my phone kept buzzing and binging, and texts were flying and emails. Well, I got a call. I had gotten several calls, but one of the calls I got were from 3 alumni who were in, I think it was South Carolina. I'm not sure. It might have been North Carolina, but they were golfing, and they were on a golf outing that weekend. And those guys were former players, and they called me, and honestly, Claudio, those guys were just crying over the phone about how we had won that state championship. So a very emotional time for a lot of folks in our community.
Sure was. Now, before the 2017 season, as I said, you had coached years ago. We'll get to that as well. Yeah. But you were a PA announcer for the football team. When you watched the team, did you say to yourself, before you even thought about coaching, did you say, you know what, this team could be a special team?
Well, they had some players. They had some decent kids on the team. There were scrappers. They had won a few games the previous year. I thought there was a lot of potential in the senior group. I knew coming back in that year that I coached, they had some senior leadership. There were a lot of seniors coming back and some decent juniors. I kind of thought that they would have a pretty decent year, and there were some expectations from the coaching staff and from the athletic department that the football team would do pretty well that year. I don't think anybody in the tri-state area, and certainly in Western Pennsylvania, thought that Quaker Valley would vie for even a section championship with that team. But there was some decent talent and good coaching, and I think they had a potential, and I saw that as well from the press box.
Now, tell us how you went from the booth to the sidelines. That a lot of people, when that started and your name came up that you were coaching, obviously people were happy about that. But tell us how you went from the booth to the sidelines.
Yeah, that's a pretty unique story, and I do outline that in the book in pretty good detail. But the short of it is, my wife and I and family were supposed to go going on a scuba diving vacation on July 29th. That was a Saturday. And that Tuesday, I got a text message first from Mike Mastriani, the athletic director of Quaker Valley, and said, "Jerry, I need to talk to you right away about something." Well, I actually couldn't go in that day, so the very next morning I went in, which was Wednesday, July 26th, and he sat me down, and one of the things he did is he went over and locked his door to his office. And Mike never did that. I mean, he was had open door policy, and he went over and locked the door and came back and sat down at his desk. And I'm thinking, what the heck is going on here? And he commenced to tell me that the head coach was going to possibly resign. Mike wouldn't know that until the following week, whether it was going to come to fruition. He wanted to know after a lot of ums and hums and ahs and ers and stumbling and stammering with me, he wanted to know if I would consider taking on the interim job. And at first I said, absolutely not. No way. I can't do this. This is crazy. The season starts in like a little more than a week. But as we talked it over a little bit, I told him I had to go home and talk to my wife. So I came home and talked to Leslie, and she was immediately on board with it and said, look, Jared, why not go for it and try it? Help Mike out, help the kids, and at least for the next 3 to 4 weeks, try it and see what happens. So I called Mike back immediately and told him I would consider it if the coach did indeed resign, that I would take it on, but probably only for about 3 weeks or so. And he agreed to that and said, I'll let you know the following week. So we went on a vacation, and on that Wednesday, coach did resign, and Mike said, he's definitely out. Are you still in? And I said yes. And when I got back on Saturday, I talked to Mike, and we met on Sunday, and then Monday morning we met with the coaches. So it was that quick. Monday afternoon at 3:00, after we met with the coaches, we were on the practice field.
And when did you decide it was going to be a longer than a 3-week stint?
It was the morning that we met with the coaches. I had been introduced to them. I knew a few of them. One of the guys on the staff who actually played for me in the 80s, Bobby Patterson.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And, yeah, you probably know Bob. And,
yeah, real well.
So we talked about the interim situation, and I said, look, I'm willing to step in here and help out for a few weeks, maybe to the first scrimmage and her first game. And they were not in favor of that. They said, look, we're going to all agree to stay. And that was another issue that occurred, that we weren't sure how many of the coaches were going to hang on. They said, look, Joe, if you're going to do this, then we want you to do it for the whole year. And otherwise this isn't going to work. And if we're going to agree to stay for the entire year and hang on, with all the turmoil that happened with the coach resigning, then we want you to stay for the entire year. And I couldn't say no to that. And so I said, yeah, sure, I'll stay the whole year.
Good idea. All right.
Yeah.
On that, we're going to take a quick commercial break to hear from our sponsors, Roscoe Hearing and Allergy Care Center, Aspire Pediatric Therapy, Dom's Pizzeria and Sports Bar at 502 Cavett Avenue in Trafford, Pennsylvania. They are ready for delivery and pickup. And criminal defense attorney Eric Jackson Lurie, with offices located in downtown Pittsburgh and Fox Chapel. Call Eric at 412-963-9308. We were right back with Coach Jerry Veshio.
Spring is here, and so are spring allergies.
Are you experiencing headaches, fatigue, nasal congestion, itchy, watery eyes, ear pressure, or vertigo? You may have spring and summer allergies. We can help at the Roscoe Allergy Center in DuBois. We'll diagnose, treat, and get you feeling better. Allergy therapy could help eliminate these symptoms and avoid the hassles of daily medications, as well as the side effects that go along with them. We can help at the Roscoe Allergy Center.
Modern solutions with the care you've been looking for. Call Dr. Roscoe's office today, 814-375-0455.
Has your child been diagnosed with an autism spectrum or developmental issue? You're not alone. Aspire Pediatric Therapy has been helping families for over 10 years and has 3 convenient locations. Through love, laughter, and play, the Aspire team provides occupational speech and feeding therapy using the area's only state-of-the-art sensory motor gyms. Aspire will treat you and your family like family. Don't settle for less. Call 412-474-3566 or check them out on the web at aspirepediatrictherapy.com.
We want to welcome our newest sponsor, Dom's Pizzeria and Sports Bar, 502 Cavett Avenue in Trafford, Pennsylvania. Call 412-372-3667. Dom Pecora, great guy, great food. Make sure you tell him we sent you.
Okay, we're back with former head football coach at Quaker Valley, Jerry Veshio. You know what, Coach? Dom's Pizzeria and Sports Bar. It's Dom Pecora. He's the head coach at East Allegheny. I don't know if you know Dom or not.
I know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah, good guy. All right. Now, when you went in, was there a style of play that you had in mind that you wanted to run, or did you look at the team and say, okay, this is what they do best? Either one of those, or how did that work?
When I met with the coaches that Monday morning, we met at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. And like I said, at 3 o'clock that afternoon, we were going to be on the field for our first practice. The existing coaching staff that agreed to stay had been working with the kids a lot in the summer. A few of the coaches have been working a lot with the kids. And so from the previous head coach, they had already established a lot of the game plan, essentially, the style of play that they would perform, meeting with the players and who's going to be playing which position and things like that. So that was kind of already in place. I was, bound to determine that wasn't something that I was going to go in there and try to convert. That would have been extremely foolish. My background in high school football was 31 years prior to that, and although I had kept up with the game a lot, I certainly watched and I was a coach along the way with the track and field team. But football has changed in the last couple of decades, and so what they had in place, what these existing coaches had in place, were a lot of great fundamentals and a lot of drill and skill things that they did that I was impressed with. And before we left the meeting Monday morning to go get ready for practice that afternoon, one of the things that I told the coaches and really tried to impress upon them that was one of my priorities was that if you agree to stay and coach this team, I'm going to give you responsibility to coach. And by God, if you agree to do that, then I'm going to expect you to coach and teach and be prepared and implement what it is that you've prepared our kids to do. So I think they kind of took that to heart. I don't know that loyalty had anything to do with it because they didn't really know me very well. I just gave them the opportunity to be able to take the kind of the bull by the horns and run with it. That doesn't mean that we didn't have issues along the way, but I wanted them to keep things simple. But we went in with the existing offensive and defensive schemes that they had already had in place prior to me getting there.
During the season, I don't want to give too much away because obviously we want people to get the book, and we're going to get to the book in a minute. But when did it hit you that you just may have a special team? I always label my teams special. Special people on the field and off. When did it hit you this, hey, we really have something here? Was there a particular game, a moment? What?
I think there might have been two separate times. I'll talk a little bit about both of them if you don't mind.
Sure.
The first one was really the first day that I met with the kids, the staff and the players. They were. I kept my comments to them very brief when I first was introduced to them. It was a very emotional time for them. Many of them didn't know that the coach had resigned. So you could imagine going into, especially some of the seniors, going into their senior season, high expectations. Finding out the day that you come into the first practice that your head coach is gone. So, one of the things that I tried to impress upon them is that we wouldn't be looking back at all from that day forward. We would just be moving ahead. And when we got on the field that very first day, I must have commented to folks over the last couple of years, Claudio, about what impressed me the most that absolute very first day was their football savvy, how cerebral they were. And I'm not talking just about one or two of the kids. The entire squad seemed to understand and know what was expected of them in the schemes that we had, in the plays that we ran, in the formations that we ran. They already had that in their head. They didn't have to do a lot of correction and That impressed me. Again, I talked to people about that length throughout the season and subsequently after the season. Their football savvy and their cerebral approach to the game was what impressed me the most. And then that was key, and I think, no doubt, the Central Valley game, which was our 5th game of the season. We had beaten Beaver the week before at home. It was our Hall of Fame game. We came back. Ricky threw an interception at the very beginning of that game. We went for a touchdown the other way, and then we came back and just whipped Beaver pretty good. But when we went down to Central Valley and we went onto that field, it was their senior night. We completely dominated them. We beat them 39-0. They never were in the ball game at all. After that game, Claudio, I knew something was going on there, and I think a lot of reporters started to get the feel of that too.
Right. Now let's jump to the Aliquippa championship game at Heinz Field. When you won 2-0, Aliquippa, for those who don't know, was a powerhouse for years and years. I always like to know from boxers or from coaches, whoever, the night before that game, what were your thoughts? What were you thinking?
Well, frankly, there are a lot of emotions that you go through, knowing that we were going to be facing such a formidable opponent as the Aliquippa Quips always is daunting in your mind. But I have to tell you, we had played them at home on a locally televised game about 3 weeks prior to that. They beat us, but we were in the game pretty much the entire time. We had some great offensive performances by some guys in the second half. When we finished that game, which was the 8th game of the season, we were not dejected. Our kids were, frankly, they were pissed off. They were like, right, this is not something that we're going to let slide, and nobody is going to beat us from here on in. And we hope we get to see them again. So, frankly, I had all the confidence in the world the night before that we had great practices that week. Our kids were focused. They were ready. They were determined. I could just see it and feel it. The coaches were ready and prepared. And there was really no question in my mind that we could play with them. As it turned out, the weather, played a big role in that game. But there was no doubt in my mind, and I don't think in any of the coaches' minds, that it was going to take a supreme effort for anybody in the state to beat us at that point.
Now, 2 other moments that I'd like to know about. The day before, again, I just am very interested whenever, again, coaches or boxers or anybody before a big championship game. Again, now you're in the States. You beat Sharon. Now you're going to go up against Middleton.
Yep.
What were your thoughts when you were in your hotel room prior to that game, the Middleton game, and after you won, after you guys won the whole thing? What were your thoughts? What were your feelings when you were alone?
Well, that's interesting that you asked that too, because I reflect on that as well in the book. The night of I don't actually recall the night before the Heinz Field game being able to, I think I rested okay that night probably, but the state championship game, I was up all night long. I got a little bit of sleep. I think I went out in the lobby. All the kids were, in their rooms and around 10 or 10:30, something like that. And I was up until midnight or thereafter and just laying trying to go to sleep, and walked out into the lobby finally with my cell phone and sat in the lobby. There was nobody else around. I think there was somebody there running one of those buffing machines on the floor, one of the maintenance people. And I just started going through my phone with all of the text messages that I got and emails of congratulations and good luck, and just hundreds of them, Claudio. And I just kind of read those and other things of inspiration that people sent to me personally, and it really just put me at ease and put me in a comfort level that kind of relaxed me, and I was able to get a few hours of sleep. We got up at 6 a.m. that morning, and we had to prepare for that afternoon game at Hershey Stadium, and so I was actually fairly calm and relaxed after I had gone out and read my phone, looked at those all those things that people sent me for about 2 hours, and so it was a calming effect. Frankly, I didn't have any kind of qualms about whether our kids could compete. That really never entered my mind. I think maybe we had the best week of practice ever between the bye week that we had after Aliquippa's win at Heinz Field and playing Sharon that week and the week prior to the state championship. Those might have been the best 2 weeks of practice that we had. As far as intensity, the kids were just singularly focused on what they had to do. So that gave us a lot of confidence, even as a coaching staff. We talked about that quite a bit. As far as you wanted me to talk a little bit about afterwards.
After you won the whole thing, and after the fire trucks and the ceremony at night, everything. After everything was said and done, when you were alone, what were your reflections? What were your thoughts?
Well, it was. It just kept occurring to me that it was such an improbable and unbelievable event that it was almost like a dream. That something like this, which had never happened in our community ever for our football program, I was directly involved with, and it just didn't. It almost didn't register right away. I almost had to go go over it again in my mind as to what we did that entire season. As you're going through a season of any kind, football, soccer, whatever it is, you're in the moment, and things happen, and you react to things certain ways as you're preparing your team or preparing yourself for whatever might come that particular week. But when you reflect back on the entirety of it, I kept going back to how important it was for our community to be excited. And just about every subsequent text or email that people sent me, I just recall the responses that I made to them were exactly what I just said about, I was just so proud to be able to bring that excitement to our community.
Was there any, I know for me, any of the championships, and I think about my parents all the time, obviously, but was there anybody in particular or a few people that you thought of, again, when you were alone?
Yeah, there's always inspirations that you have, and I think, I always would try to reflect on work ethic. Not that I had a lot of opportunity to instill in this group of young men that I was fortunate enough to coach for those 4 months. But I think maybe the work ethic that I always had in my life, maybe a little bit of that rubbed off on them, and that's how they got to where they were that season. And then I look back at my grandparents, and they were immigrants, and I've always been sensitive and proud of the fact that they came from meager means in Italy, and made a life for themselves and their families here. And I think some of that has to rub off on you, and I think then that gets transferred sometimes, even subconsciously, to others that you maybe mentor or try to teach. So although it's not outward, but I think maybe those kind of things do get transferred to folks who are under your tutelage, and I kind of think that does happen, and so I do think about those folks, the people who kind of paved the way for someone like me to be able to be, get an education and then help other people learn and progress.
Right. Well, I don't know if you remember, but before we go to a quick commercial break, I sent you a text, or not a text, but an email after everything was after you won everything, and I said I'm sure you made your family proud, and I know that was important to you to have done that.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
We're going to take another quick commercial break to hear from our great sponsors, Roscoe Hearing and Allergy Care Center, Aspire Pediatric Therapy, Dom's Pizzeria and Sports Bar in Trafford, Pennsylvania. They're open for delivery and pickup. Lee Davis & Associates Legends Division Facebook page. Check them out. And criminal defense attorney Eric Jackson Lurie with offices located in downtown Pittsburgh, Fox Chapel. Call Eric at 412-963-9308. We will be right back with Jerry Veshio.
Spring is here, and so are spring allergies.
Are you experiencing headaches, fatigue, nasal congestion, itchy, watery eyes, ear pressure, or vertigo? You may have spring and summer allergies. We can help at the Roscoe Allergy Center in DuBois. We'll diagnose, treat, and get you feeling better. Allergy therapy could help eliminate these symptoms and avoid the hassles of daily medications, as well as the side effects that go along with them. We can help at the Roscoe Allergy Center.
Modern solutions with the care you've been looking for. Call Dr. Roscoe's office today. 814-375-0455.
Has your child been diagnosed with an autism spectrum or developmental issue? You're not alone. Aspire Pediatric Therapy has been helping families for over 10 years and has 3 convenient locations. Through love, laughter, and play, the Aspire team provides occupational speech and feeding therapy using the area's only state-of-the-art sensory motor gyms. Aspire will treat you and your family like family. Don't settle for less. Call 412-474-3566 or check them out on the web at aspirepediatrictherapy.com.
Need a celebrity for an event? Visit the Lee Davis & Associates Legends Division Facebook page. Available for speaking engagements, autograph shows, ribbon cuttings, product endorsements, and other type appearances. We have World Series champions like Jim Rooker, John Candelaria, Grant Jackson, Rennie Stedett, Al Oliver, Ken Griffey Sr., football legends Roman Gabriel, Vince Papale, Louis Lips, Super Bowl champions Marv Kellum, Robin Cole, boxing champions Donnie the Golden Boy Lalonde, Vinny the Tasmanian Devil Paz, and yours truly, Claudio Reilsono. Contact us through our Facebook page at Lee Davis & Associates Legends Division or at reilsono16@gmail.com. We want to welcome our newest sponsor, Dom's Pizzeria and Sports Bar, 502 Cavett Avenue in Trafford, Pennsylvania. Call 412-372-3667. Don Pecora, great guy, great food. Make sure you tell him we sent you. Okay, Coach, now about the book. Obviously, we don't want to give everything away about the book because we want people to buy it. One thing too, obviously, we're talking about Quaker Valley High School. We're talking about local teams. But let me ask you this before we go on about the book in detail. This is something that anybody can read and be inspired by. Somebody from Philadelphia, somebody from Rhode Island. They don't have to be from Pittsburgh, correct?
I don't think there's any doubt about it, Claudio. It's certainly a local flair, and I didn't write it to become a well-known author. Certainly wasn't ever my intention. I never thought I was to ever have an undertaking like this. I'm proud of the fact that it did, we did get through this book and get it published, and hopefully it'll be out soon. But yeah, I think it's a compelling read. I'll have to give Mike White a shout out. I talked to him at length, through the season, and Mike's a great writer, and he agreed to give me a quote that I talked to him about after the season, and he quoted it, and I wanted to know if I could use it, and it's at the front of the book, and it essentially is, he believed that it was one of the most unique and compelling stories in Pittsburgh sports history at any level. So, Mike's been around a long time, and so I think, his expertise and his value of what transpired that season certainly makes it something that anybody can read and get some appreciation of.
What made you decide to write a book?
Again, I go back to the community, and the book. I didn't write the book so much for the players or the coaches or the school district or myself. I wrote it for the collective community. because of how I kept seeing people so excited. They were just exuberant. There aren't enough adjectives, wonderful adjectives, for me to describe all of the glee that I saw in people when we kept winning. Not just from my own family and not just from people who were followers of Quaker Valley Athletics. It was every person, everybody that came in contact with anybody that had anything to do with the program were just overjoyed with what happened. And people kept telling me, Jerry, you got to write a book. You got to write a book. This is crazy. This is unbelievable. And I kept, kind of poo-pooing it and saying, yeah, sure, okay, it is a good story. But after the season was over, I just kept thinking about all the people that were excited. And I just said, you know what, let me start writing some things down here. And because of the folks, I just wanted them to relive it. And I wanted other people that didn't live it to maybe live it with us again in this book. I was at a sports banquet in January immediately after the season was over. And Jim O'Brien, the guy that writes for the Steeler books, was there, and I was going to try to pick his brain a little bit. And he didn't talk to me too much about anything, but something he did tell me was just tell the story, Jer. So just tell the story. If you want to write a book, you know the story, you were there, just start telling the story. So that's kind of what I did. I sat down on my computer and started typing out some stuff from day one, and got it done.
Easier said than done, but was it difficult to write?
Yes, it was hard. I'm not a writer. At times it was definitely difficult. I had some roadblocks. As I went through each phase of the season, though, the chapters kind of, unfolded on their own. I didn't initially want to write it week by week, like game by game. And so I didn't do that initially. The guys that I had helped me edit, Kyle Flager and Chad Shannon, and then our designer was Steven Mezovich. But those guys helped me repurpose some of the chapters, and they did a little bit of rewriting for me. And so we did include a lot of the games in the chapters, some in more detail than others. And that was the hardest part, I guess, for me, trying to get it in a sequence that needed to be exciting. So they helped me do that, and I think it turned out really good. I had some other great help, though, initially, and I got to give a shout-out to him, Steve Moxie. I think you probably remember Mr. Moxie.
My old English teacher, sure. I like Mr. Moxie.
That great guy. And Steve had done some publishing, so I called upon him when I told him that I was thinking about writing a book, and we met several times. After I got a chapter done or two, we would sit down at Eaton Park in Edgeworth and go over some things, and he would, take what I wrote and come back the next 2 or 3 weeks later and critique it and move things around, and we would add things and subtract things. And so he was my first rough draft editor. So, a lot of thanks to Steve has to go out there for keeping me on track through this whole project.
Last time I talked to him, I think it was 2002 or 3. I don't know if you remember Thor Tolo. He used to have a KDKA sports show.
Yes.
So right. Mr. Moxie calls in, and he said, Claudio, he said, you sound great. I said, Mr. Moxie, you sound surprised. It isn't that I was dumb. I just didn't pay attention in class. That's all.
Yeah.
He was a good guy.
Great. Steve's a great guy.
Yeah, well, if you see him, tell him I said hello. I always enjoy him.
I will definitely talk to him because I've been, in contact with him a lot, and he knows I got the book published, and he's excited about it. And so I'll have to actually give him a call. There's an email list that goes out to all Quaker Valley retired people, staff, teachers, administrators, custodians, things like that. They get together once in a while, but there's a big email group, and I emailed all of them and told them we're on your podcast for this evening, and so they're going to listen. And the funny thing about the state championship game, it's not in the book, but the retired staff at Quaker Valley, again, it's all the teachers, not just the high school, but all the teachers and administrators and support staff. They always get together, usually have a Christmas party, and they get it pretty well attended. Usually there's 75, 80, 100 people sometimes at these parties, Christmas time. And the Christmas party for 2017 was on Saturday, the day of our state championship game.
Wow.
And they were at the Montauk Country Club, and they watched the game together while the Quakers were winning in Hershey. They were celebrating their Christmas party. I thought that was just an incredible. I wish I could have. I certainly was glad I was at Hershey, but it was almost like I wish I could have been in two places at once.
Sure. Talk about some of the people who you thought were key components to that season off the field, who again, help make it happen, or who was important to you, and obviously Mike Mastriani being one of them.
Yeah, Mike's a dear friend. When he first asked me to do this, I pretty much thought he was out of his mind. But I think he believed and knew all along that I would accept the job. I think he knew in his heart that I was probably the right person to carry out the task. And I really value Mike's friendship and insight. He turned out to be a pretty good sage in all this. But Mike's a tremendous administrator and a tremendous communicator. Mike's a great teacher. He's not a classroom teacher, but Mike's got a great mind for how people operate, and I can't say enough about his leadership in all this. And I'd be remiss, Claudio, and I think you know the case, when you have people who help you in any endeavor, whether it's a team or a company. You don't do this stuff by yourself. You could be the CEO of the largest company in the world, or a two-man operation somewhere in your local town. If you can't rely on the people that you hire, then you're not going to be successful. And the shout out absolutely goes to the coaching staff. The minute those guys agreed to stay on and agreed to take on the responsibility that I told them I wanted them to take on, they never wavered from day one, Claudio. They were just fantastic. They, again, we had our bumps and bruises along the way. We had some issues, but we always came back to what was important, keeping things simple, making sure the kids knew whatever it was that they needed to know. We did. We just drilled and drilled and drilled. We never wavered from trying to get better at one little thing each day. So those guys, I have tremendous respect for them, and the seniors on that team. They were resilient. They were savvy. They never blinked at anything that ever happened to them, which the biggest thing was the very first day that they got there and there was told that their coach had resigned. And so, there are a lot of people along the way who help you. I can't say enough about, my wife and how she was going along with this from the very beginning. I knew she's always been on my side no matter what I decided to do. It was always her being able to help me and get through kind of tough times. But those are the people that I think right off the bat I'd have to acknowledge.
There's three things. While you were saying that, three things pop into my head that I say all the time. An old Italian saying, if you ever see a turtle on top of a fence post, he didn't get there alone. And the other thing, they say in real estate, the three most important things are location, location, location. Yep. I say the three most important things in business and really in life are good people, good people, good people. And the last thing is something I tell my team, I tell my family. If we pull the same rope at the same time, at the same direction for the same purpose, we'll get a great result. And it sounds like that's definitely what you had for sure. We'll finish up about the book in a second, but something I was curious about, and I'm sure our listeners are, and a lot of the Quaker Valley fans are as well. After winning the Super Bowl, Dick Vermeil decided to retire not too long after they won the Super Bowl with the Rams. And he later said he regretted it, and obviously he came back and had some good years with the Kansas City Chiefs. Did you ever have any regrets not coming back for a second season? Did you have, because I'm sure they'd have taken you back, but did you ever almost pick up the phone and dial Mike's number and said, you know what, let me try it one more time?
The real short answer to that, and I didn't have to think about it when anybody ever asked me about it, even during the season, was no, never. I hadn't aspired to be, wasn't anything on my bucket list that I wanted to be a head football coach anymore. I certainly almost surreal. I'm back out there again, and it seemed like it was yesterday. And you're excited about it. And then game day came, especially the first game. Fans are all excited, and it was a great night. And ran out to the sideline, and got my headset on, and I'm like, this is incredible. So it was fun. And it's certainly fun when you win, Claudio. And that certainly was a year that we won, and so it was a lot of fun. But no, I never had any thoughts about ever coming back. In fact, a little tidbit that maybe a personal thing, and I don't think Mike will mind if I talk about this, but I had keys to the facility, and as a track coach, I had keys along the way anyway, so I was always in and around the facility down there at the high school. So, but one of the keys I had was to something in the football field house. So the day the season was over, finally everything wrapped up, and I went into his office one day, and I put the key down on his desk and said, okay, here's my key. And he took his reading glasses, and he pushed the key back to me, and he said, no, I'm not taking it. And I said, so he was kidding, of course, but I gave him the key, and that was it.
Well, you certainly finished on a hell of a note, that's for sure. Now, where and how can people get the book? And obviously, with everything that's going on with the coronavirus, you were supposed to do a book signing, but is there a date for that? Or just tell us again how to get the book, where to get the book, and will there be a book signing?
There will be a book signing. We're not sure yet. The book is not out for purchase yet. We've set a tentative date as May 30th. We were supposed to get it out on April 25th. Even May 30th may be too early. We're not sure. And we're not even sure whether or not, if we can't do a book signing on May 30th, we may put it out there for sale. It'll be online. If the bookstores aren't open physically, then it'll be available online through Amazon. It'll be available at the Penguin Bookshop online. Certainly, if the bookstore is open, then it'll be in Penguin Bookshop to be purchased there. And that book signing date of May 30th is on the books right now. It's on the calendar to be done at the Penguin Bookshop. Hopefully sometime in that afternoon. It's a Saturday. And then I have planned a private book signing session, kind of private, semi-private. It's really going to be open just about anybody at the Sewickley Sons of Italy that night, May 30th. So again, it's going to depend on what all this, with all this virus stuff going around and the social distancing recommendations. We're going to just kind of hold that date open, and hopefully it happens. If not, we'll push it back and see what happens, Claudio.
Well, you let me know when the dates are finalized, and we'll promote it on the show. And obviously, we're also going to have you on our Steel City Sports World TV show, hopefully in a studio. Hopefully things loosen up here soon. We'll have you on that to promote it. But before we get to the Eric Jackson Lurie final word that we'll give you, again, so many people enjoyed the ride, Coach. It was the talk of the town. I know my daughter Ida. She was in the color guard, and she absolutely loved stretching that out as long as she did, and she enjoyed the hell out of it. I wasn't real crazy about her being in the cold weather like that, but she didn't care.
Yeah.
But so you and the team really touched a lot of people. And at the end of the day, Jim Valvano used to say his favorite word in the English dictionary was the word impact. And I've always liked that. And you certainly had a ton of impact on not only your players, but as you said numerous times, the community. And I know that for a fact because I know a lot of the guys who went to the games, like I said, 40, 50, 60 years old, and they were like little kids, and it was nice to see that. And so for the Eric Jackson Lurie final word, Coach, it's all yours. What do you have to say?
Claudio, thank you for having me on. It's exciting to kind of relive this again through the book, and that's, again, I'll reiterate, that's why I wrote it. There wasn't any self-grandizing of what I accomplished. I just wanted to get something out there so that it could be revisited and the excitement occur again. I'm going to be happy when this isolation is lifted so that we can get this thing out there and have people enjoy it and, hopefully relive some of the excitement that occurred that football season.
That's great. Well, again, congratulations to you. And I know a lot of people, again, were extremely happy, not only that the team won, but that you were the coach of that team. I think that made it even more special to people. I know that for sure. They were happy about the team, but they were more happy that you were the head coach of that team. So once again, congratulations.
Thanks. I appreciate that a lot, Claudio. Very much.
All right. Okay, everybody. Coach, hang on a second. But as always, want to thank all the listeners. Appreciate you. Thank you for the emails. Thank Rick Mitchell for the introductions and the outros. Adam Zaloof, the best producer I could ever have, and a great guy as well. You can listen to the show on ClaudioReilsono.com, Spreaker.com/user ESPN blog. That's our new channel that has picked us up. Subscribe to the show. We have a lot of great guests coming up. And as always, as I said earlier, if you ever see a turtle on top of a fence post, he didn't get there alone. If it wasn't for my parents, trust me, I wouldn't be doing the things I'm doing with my life, in my life. I couldn't have asked for better parents than Olindo and Ida Reilsono for sure. And as always, thank you for listening. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for listening to the Claudio Reilsono Show, brought to you by Aspire Pediatric Therapy and Roscoe Hearing and Allergy Care Center. Be sure to tune in next time on ClaudioReilsono.com.
Spring is here, and so are spring allergies.
Are you experiencing headaches, fatigue, nasal congestion, itchy, watery eyes, ear pressure, or vertigo? You may have spring and summer allergies. We can help at the Roscoe Allergy Center in DuBois. We'll diagnose, treat, and get you feeling better. Allergy therapy could help eliminate these symptoms and avoid the hassles of daily medications, as well as the side effects that go along with them. We can help at the Roscoe Allergy Center.
Modern solutions with the care you've been looking for. Call Dr. Roscoe's office today, 814-375-0455.
Has your child been diagnosed with an autism spectrum or developmental issue? You're not alone. Aspire Pediatric Therapy has been helping families for over 10 years and has 3 convenient locations. Through love, laughter, and play, the Aspire team provides occupational speech and feeding therapy using the area's only state-of-the-art sensory motor gyms. Aspire will treat you and your family like family. Don't settle for less. Call 412-474-3566 or check them out on the web at aspirepediatrictherapy.com.
Aspire Pediatric Therapy in locations Moon Township, Pennsylvania at 993 Broadhead Road, Suite 10, and Banksville at 2893 Banksville Road, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. North Hills area, Pines Plaza Shopping Center, 1130 Perry Highway, Suite 120, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. In the Punxsutawney area, 1464 North Main Street, Suite 14, Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, and the city of Pittsburgh in the north side, 1301 Beaver Avenue, Suite 10, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And remember to check out their website for all of their information at aspirepediatrictherapy.com. We want to welcome our newest sponsor, Dom's Pizzeria and Sports Bar, 502 Cavett Avenue in Trafford, Pennsylvania. Call 412-372-5600 3667. Don Pecora, great guy, great food. Make sure you tell him we sent you.